Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on which time zone you're joining us from today. My name is Georgina, and I am the GEG leader for GEG Amman, and I am British Canadian living in Amman, Jordan now for work. And I'm really excited to be joining my amazing education colleagues from the APAC region for their GEG APAC Connect conference virtual summit that is happening today, since yesterday actually, for today and tomorrow as well. So an awesome 3-day event where Google educators are collaborating together internationally to bring you the absolute best of Google education, and in 10 languages, I might add. Super, super excited, and a great privilege to be joining everybody today. So thank you so much for joining us. So just let me know in the chat. Oh, someone says they can't hear anything. Okay, stand by. Okay, guys, looks like we may be having a technical difficulty with sound, so stand by. Oh, no, it looks like you could hear me before. Okay, can you guys still hear me now? Because I disconnected my headset and my AirPods and turn them back on again. No, that's okay. Please don't worry. I'm always conscientious with the tech. It's actually the reason we started a couple of minutes late this morning. Sometimes I'm streaming my webinars through different methods, and I needed to go back and reset the share key through my streaming software. So sorry for the delay in starting a couple of minutes. Okay, everybody says they can hear me now. Perfect. Okay, so we'll get started. So hopefully everybody heard the beginning. Welcome to everybody who's joining from Japan, from Taiwan, from Tamina's joining us from Amman, Jordan also. Um, yeah, Tamina, you're right. If I'd had my coffee this morning, I would actually know that. So here in Amman, Jordan, it is 11, just past 11 a.m. this morning. And I know that for my colleagues in Japan, right, Nate? I think that it's like just past 5 p.m. in the afternoon. So it's so amazing that technology and G Suite for Education enable us to connect and join all together to collaborate and learn from each other. So I'm really excited about that. So please, again, just jot your name down and where you're joining from in the chat. And if you have any questions throughout, please go ahead. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to share the slide deck for today so that you can actually collaborate with me. Please go ahead and click on the slide deck in the YouTube chat. When you open that up, you'll see that you have edit access to the slide deck, which is one way that I really like to engage with the audience during sessions. So if you'd like to scroll down to slide number 5, you'll see there that there is a question and answer slide. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to add them there so that we can answer them at the end of the call. Okay, so today we are going to be checking out Jamboard and some pretty cool ways that we can collaborate with Jamboard. Oh, wonderful. Daniel's joining us from Oman today. So nice to have so many countries joining us today. That's wonderful. Okay, so collaborating with Jamboard. How many people here joining us today have heard of Jamboard before? Today is a beginner/intermediate session. And so just to give me an idea of how many people have actually used Jamboard before. Malaysia, welcome. Nice to hear from you, Crimson and Daniel and Jahara. Nate's joining us. This is wonderful. It's so great to meet so many awesome Google educators. This is fantastic. Okay, so The first thing is we're just going to review the agenda for today. Here's my information if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter or my website. And just so you know, my website is still under construction. It has been under construction since the beginning of the COVID-19 closure. So I'm really sorry about that. I'm really swamped just providing support for the GEG and my own school and, you know, friends and family. So the website has been not a massive priority in the last month or a bit more. But hopefully once things settle down a little bit, then I will open my website back up again so you can connect with me there. If anybody would like to join GEG Amman as I join GEG Nagoya and GEG Ortigas and a few other GEGs around the world. It's really nice just to be able to collaborate with other people, meet other Google educators, and stay in touch and learn together. So if you are interested, you'll find that the GEG Amman logo is embedded with our registration form. So please feel free to go ahead and click on that if you'd like to have updates. We also collaborate with a monthly webinar, Tip Tuesdays, every middle of the week, as here in the Middle East, our working days are Sunday to Thursday. So Tuesday falls on the middle of the week for us. And Tip Tuesdays link is right there for the that's embedded with the Google Classroom logo. So you're welcome to take that. And then today's agenda, basically, we're going to take a look at how do we use Google Jamboard, especially for those who have only maybe heard of it or seen it once or twice. So just the basics of Jamboard. And then we'll take a look at 5 different ways that we can all collaborate together. And then we'll save some time for a Q&A at the very end. Okay, so getting started with Google Jamboard, if you click on that link right away, it's going to open you up to the support.google.com help file, which is all of the instructions you need to know to be able to use Jamboard. So everything that we're going to cover today is all going to be listed here. You'll see that there's a lot of information about the actual whiteboard. So just to give you a little bit of background, Jamboard is actually one of those whiteboards. So I don't know how many people joining us today actually use Promethean boards or smart boards in their classroom. Maybe people are using active panels now, but maybe some of you are using Google's Jamboard. So Google has their own physical whiteboard in the classroom, digital board where students can collaborate and teachers can teach digitally from that board. So the Jamboard is, it basically comes from that. And the Jamboard app that we're going to be looking at today is actually an application, therefore a web application. This is the logo here, the little Jamboard. I like it because it looks a little bit like a musical note, right guys? And so that spawns like creativity ideas for me. So it's a really awesome way for people to be creative and collaborate together. So that application is what we're going to be looking at today. So what we'll do is, how do we access the Jamboard app? So if you start from your Drive, for example, or you could start from your email, whichever is easier, you have the G Suite Google Apps on the top right next to your avatar. I'll just make that a little bigger so everybody can see. So we have here the Google Apps, and if you click on the Google Apps, you'll find that Jamboard is just a little further down. Here we have the musical Jamboard app on the right. If you would like to move that around, just an extra tip for you guys in case you didn't know, these Google apps, you can move them around. So if you find that there's an app you're using a lot more, you can very easily put it near the top for easier access. So just like I moved my Jamboard app up there now. Okay, so I'm going to click on the Jamboard app and it is going to open up this page here, similar to what the Google Drive window looks like, right? And we have the little plus button in the bottom right-hand side where we can create a new jam. I love that word jam. Reminds me, obviously there's the food jam, guys, but it reminds me of like a musical jam when you get together with your friends, if you're in a rock band or something and you're jamming out. So it's a great way for students to be able to jam together in an educational setting to learn together. Okay, so now that we're here, we can click on the plus sign and create a new jam. So we see here it's creating one, and this is what it is. So as you can see, it's basically an interactive whiteboard where we can doodle and draw and add pictures and all sorts of fun stuff on it. So here's our interactive whiteboard and anybody can share it with us. So for example, right now, I'm going to take the share link at the top right, and I am going to take this link and I'm going to drop it inside the YouTube chat so that we can all Google and jam together. So here we go. This will be really fun. Okay. Here is the Google Jamboard link. So I'm going to invite you now together, and we'll call this our live jam session. Super exciting. Okay, and I'm going to ask you guys to jam along with me. So on the left-hand side, we have our toolbars. We have our pen on the left. We have an eraser underneath if we changed our mind or wanted to edit anything. We have the select arrow because there's going to be layers on the whiteboard in a moment. And we have sticky notes, and we can add pictures, and we can also have a laser pen, which is really cool. Kids love playing with the laser pen. Okay, so we'll start here. With the pen tool, and basically in the top of the jam session, you'll see here there's an expand frame bar. I'll just make that a little bigger so everybody can see. Perfect. And oh, that's great. Nate said he's cooking and watching the session on his iPad. That's cool. You don't need to interact with the jam session if you don't want to. I always find it fun when I'm doing training sessions or even in class. People learn fast when they can play along with me. So playing to learn together. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down the slide deck, and you can see that you can add other frames, other whiteboards. It's kind of like a Google slide, but in a horizontal format instead of your Google slide deck on the left-hand side. So once you've joined me in the Google Doc, in the Jamboard, if you'd like to go ahead and you can add a slide and write your name on it. So I will start with the pen tool, and I will write my name using the mouse. Forgive my horrible handwriting with the mouse, guys. So I'm going to add my name. So then I'm going to return to the left-hand side to click select. So if everybody who's joined the jam would like to add a slide on the right, and then that's their slide, and you guys can write your name and where you're calling from or joining from, sorry, I should say, and any cool facts, okay? And then we're going to take a look at how we can collaborate together. So this is the pen tool. And then underneath the pen tool, we have the eraser, as I said before, and now I'm going to add some sticky notes. So I'm going to add some fun facts about myself. Let's start with blue. I was born in England. And then I can click save. So in the sticky note, I can change the colors. And when I click save, it actually allows me to keep going with my sticky notes, which I really like. Or you can click cancel. And then with my sticky note, I can make it bigger or smaller. I can use the angle on the top left-hand side in order to angle it, okay? And with the three dots, I can edit or duplicate it. So if I want to go back in, and I want to add like where I was born or anything else, any other kind of information, then I can do that. So then I can go ahead and duplicate, or I can just open a new sticky note again. So now I'm going to add, I also lived in Canada for 20 years, in Ottawa, Ontario, to be precise. So now I'm going to have some other sticky notes, and I can use them again to make them bigger or smaller. And I can also add images to my jam. So on the bottom left-hand side, I'm going to click the image icon. And what's really great is that if I have images already saved on my desktop, I can upload those from my desktop by clicking on select from device, or I can drag an image in from a separate desktop window that's open and drag them in directly. I can also search for images on my Google Drive folder. I can also upload images from Google. And what I really love about this option is that it respects the copyright laws. So they're all copyright free and we can use them. So for example, if I type in Canada, it's going to bring me up all these lovely images of Canada. I really like, let's see. Oh, I love this. This is probably somewhere up in BC, maybe in Whistler with those mountains. So, and now I've inputted an image, and I can move that around again, and I can angle it again, and I can make it smaller or bigger. So what are some of the ways while we're learning to collaborate on these tools that everybody thinks they could use Jamboard for in the classroom? So start having to think about how you might be able to use this with your students during distance learning as well as after distance learning while we are learning the base tools of Jamboard. Okay, so then again, at the top, I can choose these arrows left or right to go to the next frame. I like to call them whiteboard slides or art boards, but technically they're called frames. So if I go to the next one and then somebody else can insert there, I'm just going to check my share settings again. It does say anyone with the link can edit. So if you guys would like to go ahead and join that Jamboard, please feel free. I'll just drop the link in the chat one more time. Okay, so after we've created a basic jam, we can also use the laser, and I can actually draw like this, little arrows, and you can see that once I've drawn it, it moves away. So it allows that collaboration for live training where I can say, right, I was born in England and then I moved to Canada when I was 6. And you see how the pen tool, it disappears after I finish my sentence. So it's a nice way, instead of having to go and rub out your arrows, that you've actually been able to watch it disappear so that you can move on to the next one. And then I lived in Canada for 20 years. These mountains are some of the beautiful natural resources that Canada offers its residents and tourists, for example. And you can see that I was circling the image. So it's a great way to be able to draw your learner's attention to somewhere specific on the board. So I see now that everybody has joined the live jam session. So thank you for joining. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to create your own jam. So I see here that someone has said, hello, that's wonderful. Please go ahead and experiment, jot down your name, and feel free to draw some pictures and add some images. Ruth is here from Taiwan. That's great, Ruth. Ruth, have you used Jamboard before? Tamina's joined slides 5, 4, and Phyllis also from Taiwan. That's lovely. So have a go if you'd like to add any pictures or share some of your favorite things. That's awesome. Ruth has shared some bubble tea. I've never even heard of bubble tea, Ruth. This is so cool. Okay, I am totally looking into that at the end of this call. Fantastic. Love that. Okay, and in case you hadn't noticed, Jamboard is a super awesome way as well just to do a Q&A. So you could easily, at the end of your lesson, add a Jamboard to your Google Classroom assignment, and you could say, right, everybody go and just brain dump what you've learned. You could give them like 5 minutes and also do Q&A. So the teacher, for example, could create a slide, for example, like this, questions and answers. I'm going to make that yellow. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this really big. I'm going to put all of my little information over here, Georgina. Actually, you know what? I'm going to create a, yeah, we'll do that. Born in England, lived in Canada. Okay, and then we could easily do like a question and answer. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to say if anybody has any questions about anything, they can jump to slide 1 and they can add their own sticky notes. You could also, hi Dina, Dina's joining us from Cairo, Egypt. Welcome, and welcome to Sanjeev from Nepal. So awesome. I hope everybody takes the opportunity to meet each other in the call today. Feel free to exchange your Twitter handles or email addresses either on this Jamboard slide. So once you created your own slide, please leave your Twitter handle and email if you would like, so that people could get in touch with you. Feel free to upload your own image as well of yourself if you would like to, and we will keep this jam going so that people can continue to meet each other. Oh, that's lovely. Phyllis has already added a photograph. Phyllis, is that from the Netherlands? I'm going to go out on a whim and ask. I spent my honeymoon there with my husband in Amsterdam last summer, and it looks very similar to a windmill that I saw there. So I just thought I'd throw that out there and ask. Yes, Isabel is asking, can we get to this jam from the iPad? And the answer is absolutely yes. The iPad has its own mobile app, which is one of the collaborative ways that I've listed in the jams for today. And it actually has a lot more features as well in the iPad application. So go ahead if you'd like to download it and access it that way. Okay, so I'm going to let everybody just play around with that a little longer while I discuss a couple more options, and then we'll move on to other collaborative ways you could use it. Um, as I was saying, question and answers is definitely a way you could use it. And you could even color code things. So if you are working in differentiated groups or even just mixed ability groups, you could easily ask one group to use a certain colored sticky note if they would like to ask certain questions or leave certain types of feedback, or you could leave it free for the students. So again, with these sticky notes, there are 5 colors. Or you could go colorless and you could leave it white. That's another option. And you could have them collaborate that way. Okay, so I am going to come back to this jam at the very end of the session, and we are just going to share the awesome creations that everybody has done through the slide deck. So I'll let everybody have their little time to add information all about themselves, including their contact information if they would like to connect with other educators from around the world. Super awesome that we are joining all together internationally today. And one of our viewers today says that it's similar to Kinder. That's very interesting. I personally haven't used, he said it's yes, I don't think I understood that very well, but yes, it is a great application to be able to use and collaborate with. And if you find yourself smiling or enjoying or having a good time, just think about the fact that your students are also going to be having an awesome time jamming this way for learning. Okay, so going back to our slide deck for today, we took a look at the basics for starting to create a Google Jamboard. I also want to take the opportunity to show you how we would do that inside of a Google Classroom. So for example here, just make that a little bigger so everybody can see it. Okay, awesome. So here inside this GEGMN Google Classroom that I use for some trainings, we have some activities, and I'm actually going to jump to this Google Classroom where we posted an activity in one of my February sessions here, where we were doing a lesson for plant life cycle and how does a plant grow. So you could easily set this up, and this is teacher view. Don't forget, I'm just going to click edit so that you can see what it looks like. And here I have added a Google Jamboard. Now it does have a little blue flip icon in the bottom corner, even though the Jamboard application logo icon is yellow. So just remember, keep that in mind not to get confused with Google Docs, because I know Docs is also blue. So here we have a Jamboard, and you can see here that it has the same option. Students can view file or students can edit file. And so the students in this lesson were able to jam together, or I could turn that off and make it view only. So when I click on this Jamboard, it's going to open this as an example. So you can see the Jamboard that I created. And basically the title of this jam was How Do Plants Grow? So you can obviously choose how you're setting up the titles of the documents that you're collaborating with your students. But as we all know, one of the best ways to engage everybody is using questions to have people start thinking about the topic and having them think about how they can start to collaborate and create. So here we had an image. Carly we'd asked if they could draw a diagram of what a plant would look like and label the parts of a plant. And over here, this individual had chosen to use sticky notes of their labels. And this is one way that I, as the teacher, had given feedback by writing on top of the Jamboard, which we'll talk about in a second. And here's another one where they had tried to color in their plant and label it as well. So this is one example where everybody had a different slide again, and you can use it by integrating, embedding it directly into Google Classroom. So let's just do an example now where we're going to take the Google Jamboard that we are collaborating on together today, and how would we add that into our Google Classroom. So again, just the basics, and then we'll take a look at a few other ideas for collaboration. And again, if anybody has questions, please feel free to jot them down either on the Jamboard. Sanjeev says he's here from Nepal. That's great, Sanjeev. Feel free to take your own slide if you want at the top. Everybody's using their own slide deck, as you can see. And so have a go if you would like to share information about where you're joining from. And we can share that out after. If you have questions, you can drop them here, or again, you can drop them on the last, on slide deck number 5, slide number 5 from today's deck. Okay, so how do we add this to Google Classroom? So from the classwork tab, I'll make that a little bigger so it's a little easier for everybody to see. Okay, so we're going to click on the create button, and you can either, if you're going to do a collaborative activity, you have options here, right? So if you'd like everybody working on it together, or you can set individual permissions with the share button from your Jam. You can choose to either create a material or an assignment. So for the first example, I'm going to click on create assignment, and I'm going to click, this is our live Jam session, and I'm going to put today's date, 18th April 20. And then you would type in your instructions. And remember, guys, for distance learning, remote learning, as I know many of you already know, super important to make sure that we are as explicit and helpful as possible by listing all of our instructions step by step, especially for those who may not be using Google Meet or Google Google Meet live stream to give synchronous learning or recorded learning. It's really important, even if there are recordings and live sessions, to still list the steps very explicitly to help learners make sure they understand what the tasks are and what the instructions are. Okay, so after we've added the instructions, I can click on the link button on the right-hand side, and I can add my Jamboard with the link. Same way as I pop the link inside the YouTube chat, I can also add the link that way. If I go to create, I don't see that there's a Jam here. So I wanted to make sure that was very clear, because that's usually a question I get. Can I just create it from scratch from inside the assignment? And it's not an option now. You never know. G Suite has been doing absolutely brilliantly with feature upgrades, especially in this recent period of COVID-19 school closures. So you never know if it's something that they're going to update soon. But for now, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take the link from our Jamboard. And so I'm going to click share, and I'm going to take this link. Now, what's important here, guys, is that you need to make sure that you have your settings correct. So I'm going to copy my link, and as you already saw at the beginning of this call, you have to choose which it is. So if you want to keep this just within inside your school organization, and you just want your students accessing it, or maybe other members of leadership who may be inside your Google Classrooms, you'd like them to be able to see the awesome creative work that your students are doing, then you would want to keep it within your domain. So for this school, it's called Redefine Education. That's actually my training demo account and my website, but it could be your school's name, okay? So it could be Taiwan Public Schools or Jordan Public Schools, and you would want to keep it just for anybody inside that school domain. So I'll leave it back to anyone with the link can edit. And I'm going to take the link, Control C or Command C, or right click and copy, and I'm going to click done. If you don't want anybody changing settings, guys, just a reminder for anybody who would like to know, if you don't want anybody changing the settings for the Jamboard, then you can click on this button down below, which is a checkbox to prevent people from changing the access or adding new people. So for today's purposes, since we're all collaborating together around the world, we are going to leave it like that. But again, just an extra security feature for your activity if you needed to set it. So now what I'm going to do is go back into my Google Classroom, and I'm going to click the add button, and I'm going to click the link. And now I'm going to push Command or Control V or right click paste to put the link there. And I'm going to click on add link. And now, just this is, I picked this training user in order to show you, to remind you about the sharing settings for the file. So these little pop-up notifications are G Suite's training as you go notifications that pop up if it's the first time you're using it. But it is an absolutely brilliant opportunity to remind people that these are the different ways that you can share this file with the students inside your Google Classroom. So students can either view the file, they can view and edit the file, or each student can have their own copy. And remember, if each student gets their own copy, that means that it's just between them and the teacher. So it's not a collaborative, it's not a multi-collaborative setting, let's say. Obviously, there's collaboration between the student and the teacher, but it wouldn't be larger than that unless they invited other people in, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so I'll click got it, and then I can click on this drop down arrow, and I can either allow each student to have their own copy, students to edit the same file, or students just to view their own file. So in this particular case, to set up exactly the activity that we are all doing together right now, I would choose students can edit the file. That means this one Jamboard session, everybody is working collaboratively together in the same document, the same Jamboard session. Okay, great. So now on the right-hand side, obviously, as you may or may not know, you can choose a point value if you're choosing grades. You could add a rubric at the bottom if you wanted to. Originality reports wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for Jamboard. It's not something that we would validate like in a Google Doc, but it is something that you can check off. And also your due date, so you can set when the assignment will be done for. So the same things for setting assignments, just the only difference here is we've added a Jamboard. I'm going to choose my topic, and I'm going to keep it for science. Actually, let's use topic or theme, since we're all sharing internationally today. And I can either choose to schedule my post for the start of my next lesson if I'm preparing my lesson ahead of time, or I'm going to click assign since we're all working on this now. Now the assignment won't be included in the overall grade. Do I still want to assign? Yes, I do want to assign because I've left it as ungraded. And I'm just going to go and check over to see if there's any questions about how I added this as an assignment in Google Classroom. So if I go down now to my topic theme and I see the assignment that I've just created there, we will be able to see that inside this assignment, we have, I'll make that a little bit smaller. There we go. And these names are all training names, by the way. They're not real people, except for myself. If you see my name in there, I'm obviously real and with you guys. So each of these people still have, students have the opportunity to hand in their assignment, right? But it won't show as individual work. Why is that? It's because we had set this activity for everybody to be working together in one Jamboard. So once the students have finished working in their Jamboard, they're still going to need to go into their Google Classroom assignment from the student view, and they are going to need to click on hand in or turn in order to hand this assignment in. So just because they go and edit in Jamboard doesn't mean that it's going to auto submit the assignment just like any others. However, it would look like the same file that's submitted because everybody's working in the same one. So I'm just going to go ahead now and check on our questions in YouTube to see what's going on. Nate says he's going to go with Google Classroom next year. Yeah, that's super awesome. So Nate, does that mean you're getting a Jamboard at your school too, or you're just looking forward to using the Jamboard app with your students? That's brilliant. Yes, and the next viewer who's joining us, I do apologize. I don't read the language that your name is written, so please forgive me. But this viewer said that they can pull the Jamboard file in from Google Drive, just like any other files. Yes, that is correct. Just remember, though, that inside the Google Classroom, we can't create the Jamboard from scratch. So just remember under Classwork tab, you are going, if it's a material or assignment, for example, you can't actually create a new Jam from the Create button. You actually need to get the link from the Jamboard, and you need to add it to your Google Classroom assignment using the link. Okay, great. And Isabel, is asking, did I make one for each? That's a really great question, Isabella. So in our live jam session today, all of these anonymous users joined and they have added their own slides. So I did not create any slides for them. I just created this very first slide, which is my own, and then everybody else created their own slides above. So we're going to come back here in just a second to take a look at some different Jamboards, but it's really nice to see that people have been experimenting with the backgrounds. Yay, super awesome. You guys are brilliant. You guys did not need this session at all, by the way. You guys are already awesome Googlers, as you can see. Okay, that's awesome. And then Nate says, no Jamboard at the school. Don't worry, buddy, me neither. I think those things are expensive, so may not be like top priority for all schools everywhere. But it's really nice that, again, G Suite for Education offered this amazing free application where students can doodle and get creative for free using the web browser. So this is brilliant. Okay, so they're saying, someone's saying, I think we can start from add Google Drive and then get the Jamboard file. Oh, I understand the question now. Thank you for clarifying that for me. So, right, if we go to My Drive and we right click and then we go to More, you will see that Google Jamboard is there. So you are correct. You can start a Jamboard from the Google Drive folder instead of from the Google app. So at the beginning of this session, we looked at using the Google apps and we found the Jamboard app, and our awesome viewer, full and resourcefulness, has found or shared with us that we can actually add the start a new Jamboard session from right-clicking inside Google Drive, or you can use the left button at the top right, which says New, and you can click New and go More, and you'll find that Google Jamboard is down there as well. Also, in case you guys didn't know, Google My Maps is now there. That's one of the new additions in the recent months as well. So yeah, there's lots of things you can add directly from Google Drive. Just remember, even though you add it from Google Drive, you still need to be able to take your link to add it inside the Google Classroom. So this part is key. If you want to share a Google Jam session inside your Google Classroom, you're going to need that share link. Great work. Okay, so let's move along then, just because of time. So wanted to take a look at oh, my picture moved a little bit. That's okay because we're all editing together. That's awesome. Okay, so collaborative ways, 5 collaborative ways to use Jamboard. So obviously we've been sharing together, and please do go ahead and list in the comment section if you have any ideas that has been inspired from today's session or other sessions that you were attending at the GG APAC event that you would like to share with our viewers. Because the best thing about collaborating all together is it is a great opportunity to learn from each other. So although myself, and I know Nate is the GEG leader and trainer from GG Nagoya is with us, we continue are always learning from each other by sharing awesome, innovative ways that we are using these tools resourcefully and creatively with our students. So please go ahead and share how you plan to use it. Okay, so we talked about group collaboration, number 1. And this live jam session that we are doing together is exactly an example of live collaboration where everybody's sharing together. And it's a really nice way you can do this. You can pull up a jam and give students like 5 minutes and just say, right, tell me everything you know about plants. Tell me everything you know about Canada, or whatever is the topic you're learning. And it can be used for mind mapping or brainstorming before. You could even put a chart on there. So you could take your pen tool, for example, and you could draw a line. So here we have our questions on the left, and I could have done this, for example, and had question and answers, and then had people add. So you could choose grids or whatnot in order to be able to for students, like to encourage them to help them navigate where they're going to be doing their work. So you can preset that up on your slide if you want to as well. And as I mentioned before, the brain dumps are probably my favorite ones. Just stopping in the middle of the lesson or an appropriate time as you're going through your topics and just say, right, you've got 2 minutes, and you can throw a timer on there. There's lots of free timers on the internet, or you can use your whiteboards timer, or you can just include it. Since we're in distance learning now, you can put a free timer up in your Google Classroom, and you can just tell them, right, you've got 5 minutes. What do you think is going to happen next? Which is really awesome as well for science, for example, or if you're like Tamina from the maths department in secondary school, it's a great way to say, right, what do you think would come next after? So brain dumps, the next steps, revisiting, etc. Another great way that I saw recently from some primary teachers where they were using it for story sequencing. So they had listed different parts of the story at the top of the Jamboard and given each student a copy of their own Jamboard and asked them to sequence them in the correct order. Or you could do choose your own adventure story where you've given different options and then they use the sticky notes and drag them into the correct place to create their own story. So I know choose your own adventure stories are super, super popular with Google Slides. And although we're not being able to link in this web application for Jam Session, as I said before, if you at least place the options, then students will be able to make that choice and choose their own adventures that way. So it's another way you could do it. I'd also written down there collaborative feedback. So I'm just going to pull up this slide deck on the right-hand side. And for this slide deck here, this is all about collaborative feedback. So this is one way where you can review a piece of work as a team. So you could either take screenshots or embed images of student work, and you could either set each student's work on their own slide, or if you're working in teams, you might have just one piece of work, and you can have students assigned to a specific slide deck or a specific specific Jam artboard, and they can provide feedback. Again, that could be color coordinated or not, or you could ask students. It's all about how you set up your culture and your classroom management. And here's some examples. So on slide number 2, this is a piece of InDesign work that we had done in creative media class. And as you can see on the right-hand side, I have put a sticky note with the names of the students that I would like providing feedback. So then those students know that they're going to be providing feedback on this piece of work. And then slide number 3, again, here's another piece of work. Again, this could be analog work that students have done. It doesn't all have to be digital, and you can embed it by clicking on the image button as we saw earlier, and then those students would be the ones giving feedback here. And then again, here's another piece of example. And here's an example of one student feedback. Great choice of colors for the holiday season. Can you add any other images to bring out the theme? So again, encouraging students to use that questioning style to encourage people to actually do something with the feedback, that they're not just reading it and that's it, but it inspires them to reflect and to have a critical thinking approach to how they can improve their work. So one way of using Jam is for collaborative feedback. And here's another example of a screenshot of a Google Docs in here of a KWL chart for the plant lesson. But again, just to give you different ideas of the kinds of work that you can add in here. Okay, so that's for collaborative feedback. And then here we go, independent activities. So the independent activities would basically be the same, except in our Google Classroom, we would actually choose the Google Jam. And instead, what I would do, this is a material. So, and just that's a good reminder for everybody. If you're adding it as a material, Google Classroom does not give you the option to choose how you want students to set that. So if you have set your Jam session as a Google Classroom material, you have to remember to then go into the Jam session, go into chair, and you need to set your permissions accordingly here. Okay, so that's just a little reminder for everybody. But again, if you're going to be using the classroom assignment, when you add your Jam, so when I add my Jam link for independent activities, this is a great opportunity for you to say, right, here's your Jamboard. I'm going to make a copy for each student so that everybody then has their own space to be creative. So it's another great way you can do infographics with your students and get them to create their own presentation. So I know a lot of people are Teachers love giving Google Slides, for example, or Google Docs as HyperDocs as a way for students to create their presentations. But Jamboard is a super awesome other way for students to be able to create to amplify their voice and share what they would like for an activity or for a lesson. So by making a copy, you could have this template set. So for example, just like in this Jamboard, I preset the jam. And then when I share it, each student can have their own copy. It could even just have a question in the center, and then they can create a deck from that question. The possibilities are absolutely endless. It's one of my favorite things about G Suite for Education is that there are so many awesome things you can do with it. Yes, and one of our viewers says the feedback can also be sticky notes with images. Yes, you are correct. Really great. So many awesome ideas. I love that. Okay, we're almost to the end of the session, so I'm just going to mention the others, and maybe those the other two would be for more advanced users anyway, which looks like it's going to be all of you at the end of the session. So maybe I'll be offering one of these again later on in the month. The next one would be gamifying assessment. So it's a really great way. Again, you could use timers. You could use badges, you could use all sorts of things to turn your jam session into a game. You could use images, and it a little bit interacts with the use of the mobile app, because with the mobile app, I can actually pull in other items and links into the jam pre-made. So although I'm limited with my jam options with this web app, as you can see, there are only 6 tools here on the left-hand side. Okay, I can zoom in or zoom out, and I can change the background, which some of you have already found, which is really, really good, especially for maths. There's those square options, and if you're going to be sketchnoting, you can use the dots. But with the Jamboard app on the iPad, right, guys, you have a lot more options. So you can preset your jam ahead, and then you can use this on the mobile app, and students will have more options inside of it. So yeah, we'll leave that for a later session. And then we were talking about the mobile app. So those are 5 different ways that you could collaborate. And as you saw, I have listed that jam session here, and the link is embedded for you to view as well. And then we'll just take a look to see if there's any questions. I want to just draw your attention to the other awesome presentations that are coming up soon. So let's just take a look at a couple of the questions that came up in the session. How do you send your photos back to put the sticky note on top? That is a really good question, Mark. So unfortunately, as of yet, there's no way to send your sticky note layer on top of the image. You know, like in Google Slides, for example, like here, I can right click and click on order, and I can send this text to the back behind, and it's going to send it behind the image, as you can see. So it's a really nice option to be able to layer. Let me just change that. So now we have your question again. There we go. Okay, so in Jamboard, for example, here, if I layer it over top of my image, as you can see there, it looks like it's on top, right? But if I click anywhere else outside of the Jamboard, it puts it behind the image. So the image is always going to be the top layer. It is a really, really good question. Okay. But you know what? It's a really great opportunity to send feedback for feature updates. So I'm going to leave your awesome question there. Please don't delete it, so that we can send that feature update. That would be super helpful. And then there are other questions here on our jam today. How do you change the background on the iPad app? Oh, they found it. So thank you for whoever put that question. It is there. So if you have been using the iPad app all along, you are able to change the background on those as well. And then another question we had was, do you know if there will be updates to help with Apple Pencil integration? That is a really good question. I actually don't know the answer to that. So I'm also going to parking lot that. Just because we're almost out of time. Otherwise, I would go and Google it during the call and see. I'll Google it after, and I will definitely post the answer to that question in the comment section of the YouTube chat, or even in this live jam, I'll add a sticky note to answer it, okay? But that is also a really great question. Definitely really important. Actually, if you also would like to just list what Apple Gen pencil you're using. I'm using Apple Gen 2 on an iPad Pro. It may depend on the version you're using. I don't know yet because I have to go and investigate that for you. Okay, so let's take a few minutes before we close the call for today just to celebrate the awesome jams that you have all created to share and celebrate all of the international people that are joining us today. Okay, so slide number 2 is from Ronit from Israel. That's so wonderful. Thank you for joining. And Ronit says she loves to dance. Folk dance. Wow, super talented. I'd probably fall on my face. Well done. Also, we have Ruth joining us from Taiwan, and she's put some of all of her wonderful things that she loves there. Her famous snack from Taiwan is bubble tea. So I am totally going to be Googling that, Ruth. And if you find your favorite recipe, please feel free to post it there. I would love to go and try and make it as well. Oh, someone found the Moat extension. Yes, I do use the Moat extension. That's really great that you saw that. It's basically a way to add voice audio feedback up to 60 seconds inside a Google Classroom assignment instead of posting your feedback. It's amazing. So absolutely, you guys can add that if you want. And she shared her Twitter handle. Okay, I'm going to have to go a little quicker or I won't make it through everybody's, but whose is this? This is somebody living in Amman, Jordan. So I'm going, oh, and maths definitely has to be Tamina then, right? That's awesome. Tamina is a super math star, guys. So if you need anything related to maths, this lady is the person to talk to. So make sure that you connect with her. And she's added some of her favorite foods. And oh, I don't remember where this is. This looks like maybe a Jerish one. Also, I noticed, okay, Tamina must be using the app because I noticed that she was able to layer her sticky notes on top of the images. So she must be using the app. Well done, Tamina. Isabel's asking, how do we insert a timer on the Jamboard? That is a really good question. So this would be something that you could do through the Jamboard app, but not on the web interface. So you could preset your timer inside your Jamboard ahead. And I will offer an advanced lesson by screencasting my iPad. So if you'd like to follow up with GMN, I'll offer one of those sessions maybe next week or the week after to help you with that, or you could have a little play before that. Okay, so I'll just do a quick scroll. Also joining us is Phyllis from Taiwan, and she added her sketch note. That's super cool. And that is one of my favorite things to do on Jamboard as well. Students love to be able to sketch note. So if you're having them listen to a video content or reading a book, they can definitely sketch note their ideas there. And Chirahaka, sorry if I didn't pronounce that correct, is joining us from Japan. Super awesome math equation. So it looks like this person is also a go-to for math. Awesome. Oh, Yoda, I love that. So Salah is from Amman, or Dan is from Amman. Sorry, Dan is from joining us from Salalah, Oman. Sorry, I got that right. And Yoda. Awesome. Love Yoda, especially baby Yoda now. Jessica's joining us from Malaysia. Really exciting to know that's your first time using Jamboard. Thank you so much. And Mark is joining us from, is this my friend? Yes, it is. This is my, oh, wow. Super excited you joined us today, Mark. Mark is joining us from Tenerife Islands, guys. And I worked with Mark like almost a decade ago. Mark is a superstar. He's originally from England. You guys need to connect with him. So really nice to see you on here, Mark. And Isabel is feeling happy. Flowers, love that. Springtime, awesome. Reading, gardening from Anne, who's living in Japan, but initially from Ohio. That's super cool. Yay. And Dina from Egypt, the pyramids, love the pyramids. Awesome. And again from Taiwan, Matthew, that's great. And then we have a few empty slides. By the way, if you'd like to delete any empty slides, you just have to click that drop-down menu, click on the 3 dots and delete the slide for any slides that are empty. So that will help you organize that. If there were any students, you can also take a slide and you can move it. So you can reorganize your slides if you wanted to by dragging them between each other. So yeah, this is brilliant. So I'll just go here and delete those. And I'm pretty sure that takes care of our questions for today. I'm going to take a look at that Apple question and get back to you, whoever added that for the iPad. So please make sure that you guys leave those questions there. Okay. All right, so I am about to start the next session, which is now for Google Calendar. But before I go and start that session, I wanted to let you guys know that this has all been made possible for you today, thanks to the amazing GEG leaders from the APAC region. So here is the link. I'm also going to drop it in the YouTube chat now. If you would like to join any of the other awesome sessions provided to you by Google trainers and innovators from all over the Asia Pacific region. So if you scroll down here in this website that they've created for GEG APAC, you'll see here that we are on today, which is today's schedule. So I'm going to be offering a Google Calendar session next. And Nate, who is joining us from GEG Japan, leader, will be offering a YouTube in the classroom, which I'm really excited to join because I actually haven't used YouTube creation for students yet. So I'm really excited to learn from Nate, as well as from Erin 2 hours from now for a DIY language lab. So I'm really excited, always learning from each other. And then there's a whole bunch of sessions set up for tomorrow as well. So do go ahead and take a look inside the link and stand by for some more awesome sessions. So thank you to everybody who joined across time zones, whichever time zone you're joining us from for today's jam session. I am going to now go ahead and change the share settings for our live jam to view only, so that I don't lose any of the awesome work that you guys have done. So now your access is set to view only, and but you can keep the link and I will provide feedback on those questions as well. And then the gem is for you, and you have access always to these Google Slides. But I will also, someone's asked another question, how to add links to the Jamboard. So this would be through the Jamboard app on the iPad device. It wouldn't be possible through here. You would literally have to like take the URL link and you would have to add it to like a sticky note or draw it in on the Jamboard app, because there's no way to embed a link through the web app yet. Okay, great. Oh, you're very welcome, guys. That's my pleasure. It's so much fun to meet everybody and to collaborate together. That's great. Thank you for joining today. And next up on the list is the Google Calendar session, which is here. I am going to start a new recording because it's in another YouTube link. People are probably waiting for me to go join that there. So if you would like to join, you can hop on the next link. Just give me about a minute or two to go grab a glass of water, and then I will be joining you for a calendar. So thanks again. Have a wonderful long weekend if you are celebrating Easter this weekend or you're on your midterm break. And thank you for everything you're doing in education to support staff and students and each other, and stay healthy and safe. And thank you. It's lovely to meet everybody today, and see you in a few minutes in Google Calendar. If not, have a wonderful day ahead. Thanks, guys.